All right, today we're diving into a modern classic, the Almanac of Novel Ravikant. Now, this is so much more than just a guide to getting rich. It's really a fundamental rethinking of how to build a life of wealth, freedom, and maybe most importantly, happiness. So you ready to unlearn some of the old rules? Let's get into it.
And we're going to start with the core promise, the one big idea that completely changes the game. See, it's not about working harder or clocking in more hours. It's about owning assets that work for you. That right there, that's the destination.
So, who's the mind behind all this? Naval Ravikant's journey is, well, it's incredible. He went from being a poor immigrant in New York to a revered Silicon Valley investor. But we're not just doing a biography here. This is all about his philosophy, a set of first principles for building wealth in this age of, well, infinite leverage.
Now, to really get a handle on these new rules, we first have to admit something. The old game is fundamentally broken. Naval argues that the traditional path, get a degree, land a good job, climb the ladder, it's basically a trap. It's a system designed to keep you comfortable, sure, but it's not designed to make you free.
This slide right here, it just lays the central problem bare. When you're renting out your time for a salary, your income is forever, and I mean forever, tied to your inputs. You work an hour, you get paid for an hour. To get to real financial freedom, you have to break that link. You've got to own equity, a piece of a business.
Okay, so how do you even begin to do that? Well, it all starts with building what Novels calls the wealth stack. And the foundation, the absolute bedrock of this entire structure is something he calls specific knowledge. And this is a really critical distinction. Specific knowledge isn't something you can just go get a degree in. Why? Because if society can train you to do it, it can train someone else to replace you, probably for less money. This knowledge is unique to you. It's forged where your natural talents and your genuine curiosity meet.
Now, what's so fascinating about this idea are its characteristics. Think about it. What's something you do almost effortlessly that other people find incredibly hard? That's a huge clue. It's not about chasing what's trendy, it's about what you are uniquely built to do. That is the raw material you can turn into a superpower.
This is one of my favorite takeaways from the whole book. When you build a business or a career around your specific knowledge, you're not really competing anymore. You're creating. You're just being authentic. And guess what? No one can compete with you at being you. It is your ultimate, unbeatable advantage. So just take a second and really think about this. What's a subject you could just read about forever? What did you love doing as a kid, before someone told you what you should be doing? The answer to that question, that's the seed of your specific knowledge.
All right, let's move up the stack and see how this all builds. Once you've figured out your specific knowledge, you need to amplify it. And you do that with two incredibly powerful force multipliers, accountability and leverage.
Accountability. It just means putting your name on the line. It's about taking ownership of your work, your choices, your risks. And yeah, it's scary. You risk failing in public. But society only gives the biggest prizes, trust, equity, and leverage to the people who are willing to take on that risk. Now let's talk about leverage. Leverage is the magic that disconnects your input from your output. Now the old forms of leverage, like capital and labor, they required someone's permission. You had to go convince an investor or hire a team. But the game has completely changed.
Today, the most powerful kinds of leverage are permissionless. And for so many people, this is the big aha moment. Anyone with a computer can write code or create media. These are like your own personal army of robots, working for you 24/7, scaling your specific knowledge to the entire planet, all while you sleep.
And all of that brings us to the very top of the wealth stack, the actual vehicle that's going to drive you to financial freedom, owning equity.
Just look at the difference here in this table. With a salary job, your income is active. It just stops when you stop. But with equity, your income becomes passive. Your output gets magnified by leverage, completely separate from the hours you put in. One is a path to being comfortable, the other, that's a path to freedom. Naval says this over and over, and it's absolutely worth repeating. It is the single most important rule in this new game of wealth creation. If you want true freedom, you have to stop being just a cog in the machine and start owning a piece of the machine itself. Okay, so you've followed the blueprint, you've applied your specific knowledge, you've used leverage, you've gotten some equity, you won the money game. Awesome. But is that it? Is the journey over? Well, Naval argues pretty powerfully that it's only the beginning.
Because the real prize, the actual goal, is something money can't buy: happiness.
This reframing of desire totally changed how I think about my own goals. Naval sees desire as a self-imposed contract for unhappiness. I'll be happy when I get that promotion, when I buy the house. We're basically choosing to feel like something is missing, always chasing the future instead of just being in the present.
And in contrast, his definition of happiness is so simple, but it's incredibly profound. It's not about adding something positive to your life. It's the default state you feel when you subtract the feeling that something is missing. It's about being present, not about pursuing. It's an internal skill you can actually practice, not some external prize you have to win.
So here it is, the crucial link between wealth and happiness. Wealth doesn't buy happiness. What it buys is freedom from your money problems. It clears away all the external noise, the day-to-day survival stuff, and that gives you the time and the space to focus on the much harder and much more important internal game.
In the end, all the stuff that society chases, status, fame, titles, those are all competitive multiplayer games. But life, as Naval argues, is a single-player game. You're born alone, you'll die alone. At the end of the day, the only scorecard that truly matters is your own. Are you at peace with yourself?
And that brings us to the final critical question that Naval leaves us with. Are you optimizing your life for that external, multiplayer game of status, or are you playing the internal, single-player game for peace? Understanding that difference, well, that's the first step toward building not just a wealthy life, but a truly rich one.